Today we are starting our first lesson of our first unit, Algebra Basics. Algebra Basics, this is basically all the algebra you need to know to do well in geometry. There are some other topics that you do need to know, but we'll go over them once we get to those units. So our first lesson, solving equations, which we should be pretty familiar with because we spent a lot of time on it last year. We will be using the exact same method we did last year. Our learning target is I can solve an equation by using PCVNA. So if we look, there are parts of an equation. I have my coefficient, I have my variable, I have my constants, and I have my operators. So operators are like plus, minus, addition, plus, minus, multiplication, division, etc. Your coefficients are the numbers attached to your variables, and so forth. If I don't have an equal sign, I'm just dealing with an expression. You want to simplify your expressions to make them easier to work with. There are some scenarios when you solve equations. I can get x equals a number. That means your number is your only answer. Same number on both sides of your equation. That means you have an infinite amount of solutions. You can plug in any value of x and it will work. And if you have two different numbers on both sides of your equation, once you simplify and you cancel out your x's, you actually have no solution. That means my equations will never intersect. There is no x value that makes your equation true, ever. Okay? So to solve equations, we're going to be using the following device, PCVNA. The P stands for parentheses, which you get rid of by distributing. The questions that you have to ask yourself are, do I have parentheses and how do I get rid of them? So to get rid of your parentheses, always, you're just going to use distribution. So we want to distribute the number on the outside of our parentheses to both or multiple terms on the inside. The C stands for combine your like terms, and that simply means only one part of the equal sign at a time. So the questions you have to ask yourself are, do I have numbers that I can combine? Do I have variables I can combine? Since we're not solving multivariable equations, you're typically just going to have one variable, and you just go ahead and combine them, as long as they're on the same side of your equal. The V, typically your x's, is your variables. And it says on the left-hand side, but we're in geometry. It doesn't need to be on the left-hand side. It could be on the left or the right. So the V stands for variables on one side of your equation. The questions you have to ask yourself are, do I have addition or subtraction? The N stands for numbers on the right-hand side, but again, we're in geometry, so it's numbers on the other side of your variable. So basically the other side of the equal. The questions you have to ask yourself are, do I have addition or subtraction? Again, there is no multiplication and division at this stage. The A stands for the attached number to your variable you get rid of by dividing. You will always be dividing by the number attached to your variable. That is your final thing. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what number am I dividing by? So let's practice. If you look, our first example right here is 10 minus 4x equals 7x minus 23. So the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, do we have parentheses? And if you look, I don't. So I'm simply going to cross that out right there. Oh wait, I forgot to write PCVNA. So we should always write PCVNA. And I don't have parentheses, so I can cross it out. The C stands for combine your like terms. So if I look, I'm going to box this side. I can't combine 10 and 4x. They're not like terms. I can't combine 7x and minus 23. They're not like terms. Now, variables on one side. If you look, it actually might make more sense to move your 4x. So I'm going to rewrite this. So I have 10 minus 4x equals 7x minus 23. The reason why I'm saying it might make more sense to move your 4x is because if you move your 7x to the other side of my equal, I'm going to be dealing with a negative. I don't really like negatives. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides of my equation. So I add 4x, and my 4x's cancel, so I'm left with 10x equals 7x plus 4x is 11x, and then my minus 23. All my variables are on one side. Now I need to get, not 10x. Now I need to get my numbers on the other side. So if you look, I have a number without a variable right here. I want to get this number to the left-hand side. So I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of a minus 23? I add 23. So I'm going to add 23 to both sides of my equation. So 10 plus 23 is 33. So I have 33 equals 11x. Now I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of that number attached to my variable? I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by that 11. Divide by 11, divide by 11, and I get x is equal to 3. And that's my final answer. Now let's do our next example. Ooh, 1 second, it's getting a little funky. I think my iPad's glitching. Copy, paste, very good. I'm going to erase this. Now, parentheses, so PCVNA. So I'm going to do PCVNA. I have to ask myself, do I have parentheses? And I do. I get rid of them by distributing. So I'm going to distribute my 4 to my x and my 4 to my negative 1. 4 times x is 4x. My pencil is glitching. So I have 4x. 4 times negative 1 is a minus 4. Then I have my plus 4x minus 1 equals 19. Now, I have no more parentheses, so I'm going to cross out the p. Now I have to combine like terms, and I combine one side at a time. So I look in this box, and I ask myself, what can I combine? Well, I can combine 4x with 4x. 4x plus 4x is 8x. Now I can combine negative 4 with negative 1. Negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5, so I have 8x minus 5 equals 19. Now it becomes a two-step equation. I have to ask myself how I get rid of a minus 5, and that is add 5. Well, because we combined our like terms, our variables are one side, so I can add 5 to both sides of my equation. 19 plus 5 is 24. Now, I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of that number attached to my x? And it's by division. So I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides of my equation, and I get x is equal to 3. So 3 is a common answer today. Number 3. Let me erase my PCVNA. So PCVNA, the first stage is parentheses. Do I have them? And yes, I do. So I'm going to distribute. So I distribute my 4 to my 1 minus x. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times negative x is a minus 4x. And then I have my plus 3x. And that's equal to negative 2 times x plus 1. So I have, I didn't distribute my negative 2. I can distribute. Distribute your negative 2 to your x plus 1. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times a positive 1 is a minus 2. Now I have no more parentheses. Now I need to combine like terms. So I ask myself, what can I combine with a 4 on the left-hand side? I can't combine anything. So I just have a 4. I ask myself, what can I combine with a negative 4x? And that is a 3x. Negative 4x plus 3x is a minus 1x. I ask myself if I can combine the negative 2x and the negative 2, and I can't. So I'm just going to rewrite it as negative 2x minus 2. So I want to ask myself, how do I get my x's on one side? What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2x to both sides of my equation. Negative 1x plus 2x is just x, so I have 4 plus x equals negative 2. Now I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of that 4? I'm going to subtract by 4. So I subtract 4, and I get x is equal to negative 6. And that's my final answer. Last but not least, that's for sure, I want to solve this equation using PCVNA. I have 7y plus 5 minus 3y plus 1 equals 2y plus 2. I've got to ask myself, do I have parentheses? I do not, so I skip that stage. I have to ask myself, can I combine like terms? Can I combine 7y and minus 3y? Yes, I can. 7y minus 3y is negative 4y. 4y, sorry. Now I have to ask myself, can I combine that 5 and 1? And yes, I can. What is going on? So 5 plus 1 is 6, and that's equal to 2y plus 2, because I can't combine 2y plus 2. So I combined my like terms. I need to get variables on one side. So I'm going to move my 2y to the left-hand side of my equation. So I'm going to subtract 2y, subtract 2y. 4y minus 2y is 2y. So I have 2y plus 6 equals 2. Now I need to get my numbers on the other side. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides of my equation. And I get 2y equals 2 minus 6, which is negative 4. And then I simply divide both sides of my equation by 2. When I divide by 2, I get y equals negative 2. And that's my final answer. If you have any questions, email myself or Ms. Colorundo.